Hey, what's up? We're back, Walking and Talking, episode 28. It is Thursday, and yesterday was Whiskey Wednesday on my Instagram. And for those who saw, I did something special. I talked about it and hinted about it last week, but I made super clear ice. So when you want to step beyond large format ice, super clear ice is the next logical conclusion. It's way easier to make than you think. It doesn't require any special equipment aside from a cooler that'll fit in your freezer, and it's very repeatable. So you can basically guarantee you get super clear ice every time you do this, and you can create a whole bunch of it, throw it in your freezer, keep it, and you basically are guaranteed to have a cool little thing to make your beverage special, regardless of what you're drinking. Because as we've established many times here, there's no judgment. You could put these super clear ice cubes in a can of Coke. That is fine. It'll make it special, I promise. So with that, the technique is really easy. It uses a process called directional freezing, which is kind of self-explanatory. Basically, it means that you're freezing from one direction to another. And since you control that, that's how the super clear ice is created. Basically guarantees that any air that's in the water or impurities falls to the bottom as the pure water is freezing on top, which nets you extremely clear ice, as seen in this video. So all you have to do, you take your cooler. I bought this cheap Coleman one on Amazon. It was like 10 or 12 bucks, super cheap. It fits in my freezer. Obviously you can use a bigger cooler to make more ice cubes if you've got the freezer to do it. And all you do is you make sure your cooler's clean, obviously. Then pour in some water. I used Poland Springs, but honestly you can use anything. You can use filtered water from your refrigerator. You could use water from a Brita filter. You could even use tap water if it's good. Obviously, if crappy tap water, don't use tap water, because you don't want to flavor whatever beverage you put these ice cubes in. But either way, the water doesn't need to be boiled or anything special done to it. It just needs to be good, clean water. Once you fill the cooler, you throw it in your freezer. I waited about 24 hours, but it depends on how cold your freezer is, how big your cooler is, and how thick you want the ice to be. I wanted it just a little thick. The trick, once it's done freezing or once you're done waiting, do this next step over the sink, because there's still unfrozen water at the bottom, and that is going to pour out everywhere. And nobody wants to make a mess that they have to dry up afterwards. So I would recommend throwing like a cutting board over top your freezer, or your freezer, man. Throw a cutting board over top your sink, and then just flip the cooler upside down over top. Patiently wait like a minute or two, and then you'll hear this thunk noise when the ice block drops from the cooler onto the cutting board, and then you just slide the cooler up. You'll get the big wash of unfrozen water, which would be super nice and cold. I guess you could drink it if you wanted, but once you have that water away from it, then I took my bread knife and basically tapped and broke off the kind of like partially frozen chunks at the bottom that wasn't part of the main block of ice. So I got about 2-inch thick slab of perfectly clear ice. To turn that into cubes, all you have to do is you take your bread knife and you saw into it about like 2-inch strips or so. That's interesting. The wall's reflecting my voice. And score it. And once you've scored the ice, you take your mallet and whack the back of the bread knife, and it cleanly separates out these chunks of ice, or these slices of ice that are about 2 inches wide by however wide your cooler is. Once you have those strips created, you then repeat the same process to break those strips up into cubes. I went with about 2-inch by 2-inch because that fits nicely inside the glasses that I use, but obviously you can adjust it however you like. But yeah, that was it. Once you have them broken up, you can throw it in a Ziploc bag, throw it in the freezer so you have a good store of ice. And then you can repeat this process over and over again. So say you have a party coming up and you want to be a little extra special. It's a really neat little trick you can do that doesn't require a lot of money, just requires a little time and planning. But yeah, oh great, the deer are back. So anybody who's watched multiple of these videos know that Staten Island is covered in deer. And right now I'm kind of surrounded by deer. There are 2 there, there's 2 up there, and there's 1 or 2 back there that I didn't point out because I don't point out deer at this point. They're not special. I don't know how I feel about this. Kind of creeped out. Whatever. Hi, deer. Trolling the deer. Well, yeah, so join me tomorrow. Tomorrow we're talking about sports. It's a little bit different video because I'm actually in Manhattan seeing Detective Pikachu. But I call that out in that video. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate everything you are. Peace. Bye.